Welcome to the TourAI Podcast. Today, for all you adventure-seeking travelers, we're embarking on, well, a really fascinating journey. We're heading deep into Patagonia, Argentina. We're going to explore the story of a truly remarkable train, the Old Patagonian Express, which people fondly call La Trochita.
Yeah, it's a great one. And for this deep dive, we've gathered some really helpful sources to give you a real feel for it. We've got info straight from La Trochita's official website, the essential details, and importantly, a YouTube video log from someone who actually rode the train. That gives you that crucial firsthand feel. Plus, just a mention in an Australian news piece, which sort of highlights its global appeal, especially for train enthusiasts.
Exactly. And our mission here really is to understand what makes this almost 100-year-old train so captivating for travelers. People looking for something genuinely different, a real step back in time, but surrounded by these just breathtaking landscapes. So let's dive in. La Trochita. It first started rolling way back in 1922.
1922, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? It's practically a living museum piece, still chugging along in its original state.
Yeah.
That alone is just such a unique draw for travelers.
It really is, and knowing its roots adds another layer, I think. It wasn't built for tourism initially. This railway was vital for opening up Patagonia, transporting goods like grain, animals, wool, the essentials. So when you ride it, you're traveling on something that genuinely shaped the history of that region. You can almost feel that rugged past.
And the name La Trochita, that means little gauge, right? Because of the narrow track.
That's it, just 60 centimeters apart. Apparently it was a way to save costs back in the early 20th century. But what's truly amazing is, out of all those narrow gauge lines that used to exist, La Trochita is the only one still operating in its original form. It's a unique survivor.
Wow.
And here's a charming detail, especially if you're thinking of traveling in the colder months. They still have the original wood-burning salamander stoves in the carriages.
No way. Real wood stoves.
Yeah. These little cast iron stoves, they weren't just for show. They were absolutely essential for warmth during those, quite harsh Patagonian winters. You can just picture people huddled around them watching the landscape go by.
That sounds incredible. So for travelers thinking, okay, I want to do this, what are the actual trips like? What routes are available?
Right. Currently, there are two main round trips. They sort of cater to slightly different interests. First, there's one from Esquel. It goes 18 kilometers to a place called Nahualpan. Takes about 2 hours round trip. And the interesting part for travelers is the stop at Nahualpan is about 45 minutes. And specifically timed for the train's arrival, you've got the Museum of Original Cultures, artisan fairs, the Tokum Fair. It's a great chance to see local culture and crafts.
Okay, so that sounds like a really well-rounded experience, not just the train ride itself. What's the other option?
The other main one runs from El Miten to Desvio Tomi. That's the engineer Bruno Tomi bypass. This one's a little longer, maybe 2.5 hours or so. And a nice prank on this route is you get onboard guides explaining things. Plus, there's a dining car for snacks and drinks. Makes it quite comfortable.
So either way, the views must be a huge part of the appeal.
Oh, absolutely. Undeniably. Both routes promise just, extraordinary Patagonian scenery, big horizons, mountains, unique landscapes, and seeing it all framed by those original wooden window frames in the carriages, that's part of the magic. That YouTube vlog we looked at probably captures this really well. The sounds, the views, the whole atmosphere of being on this historic machine. It's immersive.
Yeah, I can imagine. And besides the ride itself, are there other ways for travelers to connect more deeply with the train's history?
Definitely. In El Maitan, which is a key town for La Trochita, you can visit the Railway Museum. And what I think is really cool, you can visit the actual workshops where they still maintain the train. They even custom make parts there using old methods. It's a real behind-the-scenes look at keeping this history alive. Gives you a much deeper appreciation.
That does sound fascinating. Okay, so for someone planning this trip, what are the practical things they need to know? Scheduling, things like that.
Good question. From a traveler's angle, the train does run year-round. Autumn, winter, spring, summer, you can go anytime. But, and this is important, the frequency, how often it runs, can change a lot depending on the season. So rule number one is definitely check the schedule well in advance for when you plan to travel.
Right, planning is key. And getting tickets, how does that work?
For the train leaving from Esquel, you can buy tickets right at the Esquel station or through local travel agencies there. So again, best to sort that out beforehand if you can. And for the El Maitan service, same advice, really check frequencies and ticket availability at the El Maitan station.
Okay, makes sense. Now let's talk about actually getting to Esquel or El Maitan. Patagonia is pretty vast. How do travelers reach these starting points?
Right. Esquel is relatively accessible. It actually has its own airport, Brigadier General Antonio Perotti Airport, so you could
Mhm.
fly in. There are also bus services, and you can drive, of course. The sources mentioned Route 40 from Bariloche, which is pretty famous, or routes from Comodoro Rivadavia or Trelew. So several driving options depending on where you're coming from.
And El Maten, is that somewhere?
Dalmatin's a bit more off the main track, you could say. You can reach it via Provincial Route 70, connecting from Route 40 near Epien. Or there's another route, S140, which apparently includes a stretch of gravel road, and another provincial route, 243, from El Bolson or Bariloche, also partly gravel.
Yeah.
So these routes kind of highlight that El Maten and the train itself connects to a more remote part of Patagonia, adds to the adventure maybe.
Yeah, definitely gives it that authentic, slightly more rugged feel. It's clear this train isn't just a local thing, though. It has wider recognition.
Oh, for sure. That Australian news piece specifically called out its appeal to train buffs internationally. It's a known destination for enthusiasts. And significantly, back in 1999, Argentina declared it a national historic monument. So it has major cultural importance within the country, too.
It's really something how this piece of functioning history just keeps drawing people in.
It is. And what's neat is how this nearly 100-year-old operation still connects with today's travelers. I mean, yes, it's historic, but you can find information online. They have a website, an email address. It shows they're making it accessible for people planning their trips now, which is great.
So wrapping this up, for you, the traveler listening to the TourAI podcast, what's the takeaway here about La Trochita?
I think the takeaway is it's far more than just a train ride. It's genuinely like stepping into a different era. It's this really rare chance to see epic Patagonian landscapes through the same windows people looked through almost a century ago. The sounds, the smells, steam, maybe that wood smoke, the slower pace. It's such a powerful contrast to modern travel, a really memorable experience.
Yeah, and here's a thought to leave you with. Really picture it. You're sitting there, maybe near one of those old wood stoves, watching this vast, dramatic Patagonian scenery just glide past the window. And knowing you were on the very last train of its kind, still running like it always did. That's pretty unique.
It really is. And it kind of begs the question for anyone with a bit of wanderlust, doesn't it? What other hidden gems, what other pieces of transportation history might still be out there waiting to offer a journey just as unique, just as evocative? Maybe this deep dive into La Trochita on the TourAI podcast inspires you to go looking for them on your own adventures.
Thank you for listening to the TourAI podcast.